Hi everyone, and welcome back to GEG UK. 2 weeks in a row, and we are here tonight with my auntie Sammy, which is fantastic. Great to keep it in the family, and also Gustavo joining us all the way from TextHelp, which is well, whereabouts in England is TextHelp?
Well, we're not in England.
Correction.
No, exactly.
Across the pond to Northern Ireland.
Across the pond in Northern
it's
Ireland.
In Antrim. It's actually in Antrim in Northern Ireland.
Antrim, there you go. Fantastic. Already getting shout outs from Francis and Katie joining us. Brilliant. So tonight, guys, we're going to be diving into OrbitNote, which used to exist in another form, but we'll talk more about that later. And then we're also going to have a look at EquatIO and how great that is, right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Brilliant. So we're going to get started pretty much straight away. Those people that are joining us live, obviously, please do share your social media handles in the chat and say hi. And if you've got any questions, just let us know. And also, if you're sneezing, bless you.
Yeah.
So,
Katie.
Sammy, are you kicking us off tonight?
I am. Yeah, I am. I'm slightly distracted that Katie's here when she's poorly, but bless her.
Exactly. Right. Should we bring yours on screen then for you, Sammy?
No, we'll just leave this one on.
Okay, we'll do that then.
Thank you. We'll leave this one. Thank you. So, yeah, we're very excited to be here tonight. As you may or may not know, I used to be very active in GEG UK. I still am. I don't think you could fully kick me out. But I now work at TextHelp, and I'm here with Gustavo, and we're going to have a look at OrbitNote and then EquatIO. Those are our details on the screen. If we haven't met before, next week is the time to meet. So grab those details. Please feel free to send a DM over. Please feel free to send an email over with any questions as well if you've got from the session. But absolutely, I want to see you next week. Absolutely, everybody. That is what next week is all about if you're at BET. So I am going to hand over to Gus to kick us off then to tell us more about OrbitNote.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sammy. And hello, everybody. Most likely you know Sammy, but most likely you don't know me. Well, I've met some of you last year in person, but definitely, as Sammy said, next week, I'm really looking forward to it. Next week and finally meet most of you face to face. So yeah, Sammy, we're going to talk about OrbitNote, as you said. OrbitNote is the evolution of a tool we had before for PDFs, and now this is more of an ecosystem view, you could say. And now I'm happy to say that this is looking more like a PDF solution for the classroom. So why a full solution for the classroom? Because this is an ecosystem that is integrating some of the tools that we have out there that are very well known by you guys and also by students everywhere, pretty much. So we have Read and Write on one side, which, as you know, is a tool that enables students to be more independent. And you have plenty of reading and writing tools there that you can use in Google Docs, that you can use in the web. And now you can bring all of those tools into PDFs using OrbitNote. So all of those things are going to be there when you are studying, when you are reading, writing, completing worksheets in a PDF. Same thing with EquatIO. EquatIO, digital maths. We have Sammy. She's going to be speaking about EquatIO and all the wonderful things you can do, like making math more visual and engaging for students. And again, now all those things, we can do them as well in OrbitNote. Maths and science worksheets are very popular out there. So it was something that definitely was in our to-do list. And in the last couple of years, it was pretty obvious that we had to put a lot of priority in the matter. So before we continue, please don't forget, guys, that you all have access to those two tools, actually to the three of them, Read and Write, EquatIO, and OrbitNote. So if you haven't done that yet, that's the address where you have to head to text.help/EIET. And then you're going to see a website like on the one you see on the left side of my screen. Just go there, find the tool that you'd like to have, fill the form, and that's it. You're going to have access to all those tools for free. And definitely don't miss out the opportunity. If something is not working properly with those forms, just give me a shout and I'll give you a hand with that. So don't forget that. And let's move on to the next part, Sammy. So here, before we kick off with the actual demo, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. Sammy told me that it was a good idea to bring some swag here. So Sammy is modeling with a lovely t-shirt. Show us, Sammy. And I have a jumper as well. So those are a couple of things that we have for you guys today if you help us with a couple of questions. So the question number one is, I'm really intrigued. Do you guys use a lot of PDFs for teaching, for learning? If yes, why? And if not, why not? If you can put that on the chat so we can have an idea of how often you're using PDF these days and how are you using them, that would be fantastic. And then Sam is going to select some of those questions, and you're probably going to get a jumper or a nice t-shirt. Next week that we see us in bed, that's the right time we're going to get them. So think your answers through.
I'll just clarify as well, they are the same color, even though they look like slightly
we're
different.
saying that
they are the same. They're exactly the same. They're blue. They're very lovely. It brings out the blue in my eyes, May. It's a very lovely t-shirt I'm wearing.
It's pretty comfy, isn't it? Like, my jumper is very warm. I'm going to use it throughout the whole Northern Irish summer.
Oh, Frances is straight in. She avoids PDFs like the plague because they are aggro. Yeah, Frances. Hi, Frances, by the way. Katie, lots of my worksheets PDFs, just easy for the children to write on. Yeah, I certainly see that, Katie, at the younger end, and Francis as well, like up at the further education end. It's they are really, really tricky, but really popular still. Like the maths exam is still a PDF that we do.
True. So for those of you guys that are using, well, Katie, Francis, you are not using PDFs. Katie, maybe. You guys that are using PDFs, the main challenges that you find with PDFs are, for example, that they are very complicated to handle. Does anything else come to your mind?
Yeah, so aggro, Francis, just elaborate on that one for us. What is it that the problem? Most things you download from the websites are in PDF. Yeah, Katie, absolutely. Everybody loves a PDF. I think it's that lockdown sort of, this is, you're definitely getting this version, and even if I update it, you've got this version. I think a lot of websites go for that. But Francis, I'd love to know what is it in your teaching that causes the problem with the PDFs? For me, in my classroom, I can set them work on a PDF, and then I'll get a variety of ways of it handed in. Like I'll get like a picture of some scribbles, or I'll get some attempt at drawing on a Google Classroom app or things like that. So yeah, it just depends with mine.
I'm just looking up aggro. Sorry, I have a language barrier here. So according to Google, it's aggressive and violent behavior. Is that right?
Just means grief. Just means grief.
Yeah. Es un rollo, Gustavo.
Okay. Thanks. That's what we needed here, Darren. Nice translator. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Francis is saying she can't manipulate it, give feedback. It takes longer than a doc, or it's like a hassle. Yeah, grief. And then perfect. Darren's popped in. No room for working out on the PDF itself. They're often cramped. That's interesting, Darren.
Thanks.
So it genuinely is, because when I was making the PDF for tonight, I had to leave lots of space in the PDFs.
Good. Then I'll probably like your PDFs. I tend to find that a lot of the things that as Katie said, you download, I tend to find a lot of them, people have tried to pack as much into one slide or one page, to minimize the amount of printing for obvious reasons. That then there isn't the space for them to be able to work. And it kind of defeats the object, because you've saved paper by squeezing it all in, but then you've created more of a problem because then they've got to answer somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Thanks.
Never thought of that one. Yeah. Okay, badly designed. Yeah, that's a point to Darren. You're going to hate one of my bullet points after, because I said that they had lovely designs. Many times. Well, okay, cool. So we have loads of good answers there. Probably a very silly small summary is what we have on screen there. So there are definitely positives about PDFs. We know that there is an abundance of resources out there. As you guys were saying, anytime you are studying as a student or you're looking for resources as a teacher, throughout your whole life in the workplace as well, every time you're trying to find information, a lot of it is on PDFs. In higher ed, in further ed, in schools, all the time, there's plenty of information out there in PDFs. Also, worksheets are super popular on PDFs. Many times departments actually work on those PDFs and share them across the school or friends. We can buy them as well. You can get them from places like Twinkle, White Rocks Maths. So there's so much of it. So that's a positive. That's the reason probably why we still have PDFs after 30 years. And what I was trying to say about the nice content and design was the fact that actually the PDFs protect the integrity of the content and the design, whether it's good or bad, pretty well. So that's another reason why they are popular. But at the same time, that's one of the things that make it very aggro, is that right? It's a big hassle. Because obviously that makes them very rigid. We cannot really do much with the information that it's a screen on the screen. It's pretty much a photo that you have on the screen. So we have limited support for students. There are a lot of barriers there that stop students from actually accessing the information from those documents in their own way. And the other big thing is that completion is a massive challenge. And so no surprise that we still hear that all of those worksheets, instead of being used completely digitally, they're being printed out. And as you, Darren, were saying, that comes with a lot of other problems, like we're trying to just save cost, trying to squeeze everything in one page so we can print in less paper. At the end of the day, the ideal thing is that we complete digitally and that we create a workflow between teachers and students that make it very easy, very intuitive for that to happen, which right now is not out there. So those are kind of the challenges that we want to cover today. And just as a heads up, if you've never seen OrbitNote before, OrbitNote is basically a toolbar, pretty much like Read and Write and EquatIO. We love doing toolbars. We have some sort of obsession with toolbars. So that thing there, a very simple toolbar, that's OrbitNote. And if you have Read and Write installed in the same domain, the same account, you're going to see this full toolbar that you see on my screen right now, including that middle section that is labeled as features connected to Read and Write. Because those features are inherited from Read and Write, they are reading and writing supports. If you only have OrbitNote, that section is not going to be there, and you're going to have the first three buttons, which are reading aloud features, and then you're going to have the last part of that toolbar that is there for completion. Okay, so when you combine it with Read and Write, it becomes much more powerful, and it really unlocks all the power of Read and Write into PDFs. All right, and last thing before we turn to Sammy, because Sammy is going to be the student here, and she's going to be opening a PDF and navigating through the PDF using OrbitNote. Before we do that, something very important, especially for you guys. We've put a lot of work in making OrbitNote fully integrated with Google Classroom, and not just another integration. We wanted it to be as perfect as it can get. And the definition of as perfect or as good as it can get, I think it's fair enough to say that is represented by how aware the student is that he or she is using a third-party tool or a new tool or a different tool. And you will see that in this workflow, the student doesn't even have to know that he or she is using a different tool. It's transparent for the students, so they can focus on completing the worksheet, on studying, on learning, and forget about learning a new tool or technology. Okay, so we're going to see it as well. And we're going to cover two pieces here. Just one worksheet of, I think it's about P5 maybe, an English worksheet. And then Sammy is going to torture me with a maths worksheet. You have promised, Sammy, that you're not going to humiliate me with anything too weird, right? Okay, so Sammy, do you want to open your worksheet?
Do I? Oh, this is exciting, everyone. I've got a PDF worksheet. Let me drop it in. Here we go. Right. We'll just say I do know nothing about OrbitNote. So this is as good as you're going to get of how someone who doesn't know anything about OrbitNote uses OrbitNote. And also, I'm on a laptop, and anyone watching knows that I'm a Chromebook girl. So this could go horribly wrong.
Cool.
Right, let's
go. Those positive vibes, we kick off. Okay, cool, Sammy. So you just open a PDF there now from using OrbitNote's dashboard, and well, we have on top the toolbar, right?
Yeah.
The toolbar that I was showing a little bit ago. So the first thing that I want you to notice is that if you would like to highlight some part of the text, could you do it or not? Say you would look, you want to highlight a word and then read it aloud.
Okay. I'm going to pick, I don't know why do I have to do this?
Okay, but basically you can't. That's what I want.
I know, it's so stressful.
Okay, cool. So why would you like to maybe highlight some part of the text? What can you think of?
Well, for me, for my reading, when I'm reading journals, I highlight by theme. So I'll color code my themes when I'm reading more academic pieces than this. I love a highlight for those key points.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you want to select some part of the text, just simply to read it aloud, or use any of the tools from Read and Write that you have in that toolbar. But you can't, because that PDF is what we call like an inaccessible PDF. It's an image PDF, and pretty much from the data that we have, about at least 1 out of 3 PDFs are like this. So if you are a student that just is trying to access information from anywhere in the internet, most likely they're going to find these PDFs all the time. And that's a huge barrier, because they won't be able to use any of the tools that you have available there, simply because it's non-accessible. Okay, so what you could do as a student is use the scan text feature that you can see on the top right-hand side of the toolbar.
Yeah.
If you click there, it's going to prompt you to scan the page and look for text. You have to select the language, which is in English, and then just click scan. In this case, it says that it's going to take 5 seconds. So it's prompting you as well to select where you want to save it.
There we go.
And then in those 5 seconds, it's going to scan the doc, it's going to find text, and now what you're going to have, it's a fully accessible PDF, and you'll be able to use all the tools that we have in that toolbar. So now you should be able to select a word or a fraction or a portion of the text. There you go. So that small thing there is massive, because otherwise students have pretty much something that is very, very hard to explore, very, very hard to understand. And basically, yeah, it really sets a barrier and doesn't allow them to be very independent. The beauty about this tool is that we had OCR, which is the technical name of this for this. We had it before in other tools, but now, as you can see, the workflow is extremely simple. If you are a student, you open OrbitNote, and it prompts you to press one button and scan it. No technicalities. I don't even have to know what OCR is. Yep, exactly. So now, Sammy, you can go ahead and select, for example, the first paragraph. And if you click play, obviously, that's going to read that aloud for you with a double highlighter. And there we go. So probably we can't hear it because of the setup of your speaking and your microphone.
Yeah, Mr. What the Trig is currently hoovering.
But anyway, I'm sure everybody gets the idea of a text-to-speech. So I don't think anyone's going to leave the webinar right now. But the other ones that I use absolutely every time I have a PDF, click on stop, so you can disable the text-to-speech, select one word, and then click on the dictionary, for example, and then you can click on the picture dictionary and the translator. I like to have the 3 of them open at the same time. And
oh, it's not fun. Hang on, let me pick a better word.
Yeah, pick another word that it's a little bit easier for a picture dictionary. But anyway, in that case, for example, where you have to find words, you have to find synonyms, you have to find antonyms, so you really have to try to research what each of those words means. So right now you have a tiny screen there, but most of the times you can have them open at the same time while you work. And you don't really have to start Googling for definitions and names, and you can really put some effort in finding the actual right words. without having to leave your PDF. So those things are things that come from read and write. And then you can also, there's Andrew there, hello.
Also miss the swag.
Yeah, I don't know if we can do anything about the recording, but let's get creative. And then lastly, Sammy, the highlighters. You mentioned that you love the highlighters. So what do you like about the highlighters? How do you use them?
So I generally read and highlight by theme. So if I'm reading a piece about teaching and learning, I might highlight if it's for classroom practice, one colour. I might highlight if it's for leadership in another colour. So I use different coloured highlighters all the time, and my students do too. They use the highlighters if they don't understand words, but also if they want to make revision lists. So they'll highlight a certain colour, and then it brings it across for a revision list for them. I won't spoil the surprise.
Yeah, nice ones. Yeah, so one that you guys, if you've used read and write before, a very nice feature, for example, here would be if we select or highlight, Sammy, 3 words maybe around from that word bank, and then we use the vocabulary list. So you know which one the vocabulary is, Sammy, or?
Let's say I don't.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Icon number 8.
Let's say I don't. It's that one, isn't it?
So, yeah, you know that feature is phenomenal. But if you've seen that in PDF, in read and write, I think that what we have to highlight here is how all those things are available in PDFs. It's simply that.
But I think let's just spend a bit of time on this. So if I am teaching my house cannot store anymore, so I can laugh a bit. Yeah, you're not getting it laughed a bit anyway. I think for me, the biggest thing for me that changed my teaching with using the highlighting and the vocabulary list was, this is now my pre-teaching tool. So this is if I've got the text or the PDF ready for the lesson, and I know there are words in there that students will struggle with for a variety of reasons, be it EAL or be it processing, or be it that they just need it a little bit set out differently, I will run through with the highlighter very quickly and pull the vocabulary list and hand it out with the worksheet. And that gives them that discrete support that tells them that I know you've got challenges, I've done what I can, here you are, this might help. And then they're not having to ask me a million questions, and they feel more empowered to carry on with their learning. So I think it's an absolutely brilliant feature.
Couldn't agree more. I'm a huge fan of that. I use it all the time. Again, I think that, I mean, the fact that I mention all the time that I use it so often is because, obviously, as you all know, English is not my first language. So anytime that even I'm reading at work, I use the highlighters all the time. I'm a little bit geeky, and I do like to highlight the words that I thought this is a word I should learn and put it away somewhere else and go through those lists here and there. And the other massive one, Sammy, is obviously collect highlighters. If you can also show that one.
So what my students do with this one is they highlight by a specific colour things that they're okay with and things that they're not okay with in their maths papers. So if the topic they can do with ease, they colour it one colour. If it's a topic they struggle with, they colour it with another colour. And then at the end, we collect highlights and we have 2 lists of what are they good at and what do we need to work on. And it really helps with the revision, especially this time of year with the revision. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fantastic one. And if you're thinking potentially, like you, Darren, were saying about cluttered documents with a lot of information, it's brilliant for extracting information from those ones and simplifying. That's definitely something that in textbooks, there's a lot of reading, is a massive help. Your alternative would be printing, highlighting, or copy, paste, and all those things are barriers. So that kind of covers read and write. And I just want you guys to remember how important it is that for the student, if this is called OrbitNote or read and write, it's completely transparent and irrelevant. For a student, they see a toolbar that it's with them when they are working on docs, when they're working on the web, when they're working on PDFs, and it looks the same everywhere. There's consistency in the supports. And even when they're going to exams and they have to use some of these tools, it's all familiar. There's consistency everywhere they work, and that is very powerful.
I think that's a really big thing, because what we're hearing at TextHelp is a lot of people are moving to using our tools as those digital readers in exams to save on that manpower, because maybe that manpower is reduced because of capacity, because of the number of staff we've got in the building, or reduced because we've got students with different needs. And we're hearing a lot that our tools are being used as electronic readers in the exams, and if we can build that familiarity from now, we all know that the benefit for the student on the day of the exam is massive, rather than them seeing the tool for the first time. And it's that familiarity across the tools, all of it.
Yeah,
thanks, Darren.
Exactly,
yes,
Sammy.
it is. And EquatIO.
Oh yes. And then, Sammy, well, we have the last.
I'm stressed now. I was talking about teaching and learning. I was fine.
Yeah, like a fish in the ocean, and look at you now. Well, the last bit of the toolbar obviously is super self-descriptive, friendly, and easy to use. And that's the other goal with OrbitNote. Our struggle is, what do we put next, and do we have to remove something? We don't want to have a very cluttered toolbar with a lot of crazy features and menus and things that at the end of the day will just distract the student. We're trying to put the basic thing, all the most important supports for reading and writing and whatever they need for completion, but keep it simple. Like it's incredible how many times we go to schools with read and write and with this toolbar, and it already represents a challenge. Sometimes we forget that not everybody has a super high level of tech or digital literacy. And even that toolbar that you see on the screen can be challenging for many students, but also teachers and staff. So we try to be very careful in what we add, what we remove, and just keep it practical. The last one, Sammy, you have shapes, you have freehand drawing tools, you have an eraser, you have a text box, push pins. So obviously, in that same doc, if you scroll down, you'll see that you have fields where you have to write the synonym and the antonym. So you can imagine you pick the T, and with that T, you will be able to write the synonym of big. And there you can see that you have all the reading and writing supports. What's up, Sammy?
English isn't my best subject.
But well, while you think, you have a look that the play is there, so you can read aloud what you write. You have prediction as well.
I think that's important, isn't it? Because if you were panicking like me now, like
yeah, well, that could help. That prediction one, it's interesting. When we look at our data, prediction is the second largest most used tool in the whole of read and write, and we never speak about it. But it's used all the time by students.
Yes, Dave. I'll answer that one. Yes, Dave. Just ping me a message.
Yeah, we have that.
We can sort that out.
Definitely.
No problem. It's we get asked for it all the time. All the time we get asked for it. So yeah, so I think it's not just text then, is it? So from the toolbar, it's not just text. We've actually got way more that we can put in here just to make it more accessible for students, which is what we do with everything. But I think it's really key that it's really familiar to students. This isn't going to be terrifying. And certainly from my point of view, because I'm demoing this as the student, I've done nothing other than press that scan, and then all this has opened up for me in this PDF.
Exactly. Yep. And well, as I said, those other tools are super intuitive. So let's do something, Sammy. Let's kind of pretend now that you're a teacher, okay?
Let's not pretend.
Yeah, well, you're right. Well, let's remember that you are a teacher, and let's now assign that PDF to a student, okay? And I'm going to show the guys how that looks like. So if you go to the top of the document before you click there, just go to the top of the document, if you don't mind, so I can see a title. Scroll up. There you go. Yeah, select the title.
Yeah.
And then
I'm still on text. You see, this was always going to go wrong, wasn't it? This was always going to go wrong. There we go.
There you go. And at the right-hand side, you can see that when you select some part of the text, you have that little pink bubble. So if you click there, you'll be able to add a comment. So because you're going to assign these, I just wanted to make it clear, what you can do is add some annotations, add some comments, create a voice note there by pressing that little button there that looks like a play next to type your comment. Yeah. So this is a moment where you can leave a note, you can leave a voice note, or any sort of annotation on the document, and that's going to be shared with the students.
So, I think we all know the power of a voice note at the start of a worksheet. That little hearing your teacher's voice of, I want you to have a little go at this, and then I want you to do this. And I really think you'll be able to do this, and the power of having that voice note and it being built in. And for staff who may lack some of those digital skills, for it to be that simple without putting anything else on there, I think is a really, really big, powerful thing for students.
So insert a little voice note there, Sammy.
Do I have to put a voice note in?
Just click record. You don't have to record anything and pretend you're a teacher.
I'll pretend I'm a teacher, shall I? Okay.
That's it. Comment so we can see where it is on the other end of the workflow.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah, and that bit that Andy is mentioning there is huge. The normal way of working, or the normal way of working. That is massive. We hear it all the time. That what you were saying as well, Sammy. That consistency is so important these days. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is assign that using Google Classroom to. You don't look very happy with that.
I'm feeling really stressed. I know nothing about OrbitNote. I'm really scared. I'm gonna break it.
It's just 2 steps. You're not gonna break it. So first, click on the little arrow that is next to the classroom icon.
Yeah.
And that option is share annotations with students. So that means that you're basically telling OrbitNote that you want to share all those annotations with the students, and it's not that those are personal. You want to share them. So click there.
I think that's really key. Like, I scribble all over PDFs for my students all the time and being like, don't look at this bit. You need this bit. This bit is the key bit that you want to look at. So I think that is really, really important that you can share with annotations. But actually, you could annotate it in class. If you were analysing a text together in class, you could annotate it in class and then ping it on the classroom so they've all got it for asynchronous when they leave the classroom. Massive.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that you can do with EquatIO, and we see it later on. So you complete everything and then you can share it using Classroom. So you've got that done. OrbitNote is going to tell you, yep, ready to go. And then use the Classroom icon, and all that's going to do is open Classroom.
Oh, we know what we're doing now. We're all right. We're all right, lads.
So that's linked to your Classroom, and that's actually Classroom. So choose the class that you have there for, I think it's called Sammy, Demo Sammy, isn't it?
OrbitNote Demo Sammy, yeah, but it's not giving me any options at the moment. It's decided not to bring all my classrooms through. Hang on.
Try it again.
Here we go.
There you go. An assignment. And then you know the rest very well. So as you can see, guys, it's just the integration is actually just a perfect link with Google Classroom. If you decide to do it the conventional way, basically go to Classroom, you create an assignment, and you just insert the PDF. There's absolutely nothing there that is special for OrbitNote. It's just the usual workflow. So if you're trying to get stuff into this, you don't have to explain anything new. It's just the normal way. Just make sure, Sammy, that you create a copy for each of the students, so I can actually edit that, and then you assign that.
Can I stop demoing now?
So now I've got it on the student side.
Okay, so Darren, can we swap screens? There we go.
Hold on. Oh, hold on. I'm going to go to the other screen. Okay, so that's my student view. And Sammy, I don't see what you just... Did you publish that?
It definitely went. It definitely went. There it is.
It's weird that it's not announced something.
It's because I don't post
I'm
on
not the only one.
Sorry?
I'm glad I'm not the only one. really bugs me.
Yeah.
So basically, when you post in the classroom, when you pass classwork, Gustavo, you can have it notify on the stream and in classwork, or you can turn it off the stream. And obviously, it's a family thing. Me and Sammy both turn it off from the stream because the stream's a notice board, as far as I'm concerned.
The stream is where I send urgent messages of where are you?
100%. Yeah,
totally.
Even in a demo classroom, I've done it.
Look at that.
Standard way of working.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, so as you can see, the only thing that you do as a student is click on the PDF, and that automatically opens that in OrbitNote. So there's nothing. I turn it off in the stream too. Huh. So you do that, Sammy. Look at that. Next time you can tell me in advance so I don't freak out. So that tiny little thing there is also very big because the student doesn't have to do anything different. They just click on the PDF that we assigned in Classroom, and it opens with OrbitNote. So nothing special there. And then here we have all the tools that Sammy already showed us before. So I'm not going to do the whole thing again. And when I'm finished, when I have completed all these notes that came from Sammy, as you can see, I cannot edit those. So I cannot edit those initial notes. I will just turn it in, and then that takes me back to Google Classroom, and then I can hand that back to Sammy, and that's it. So just to show you guys how integrated that OrbitNote is with Google Classroom. It's completely transparent for the students, and therefore you don't have to worry about them getting lost somewhere in the process if you ask them to complete something on a worksheet, on a PDF.
I think one of the big things when we were team spell, this is going to get serious. It's going to be list and grid viewing it all over again. Here we go. GEG UK. So one of the key things that we were saying at the beginning was about the space for working out the space to put things in. But actually, there's some nice workarounds there in that you can add the notes at the side and you can work on bits and pieces as well in it. So I think for me, the biggest things I've taken from that, and genuinely that's the first time I've ever seen that taken away, is that it still read and write, still does my collect highlights, still does my vocab list, which goes with every assignment that I send out for that pre-teaching, but also that voice note built in, and just to put that in the students' hands of like, you can do this, off you go, I believe in you. I think that's massive.
Nice, Sammy. Very nice. So I think it's your turn to torture me with some maths.
I think so. So you should have the PDF.
Yeah, I'm going to open the PDF, which is here.
Oh, there we go.
And now I'm the one feeling very anxious about this.
So it's opened up in OrbitNote. So you'll see, again, it looks just like OrbitNote, but obviously this is maths and this is EquatIO, and there's no space for it there. Like, we didn't show you any of those features. So if you just want to show them, Gustavo, how they pop EquatIO on and how easy it is.
Okay. So just on my extensions bar, there's EquatIO there, and that's it.
And there you go. And that's it.
Yoo-hoo.
That's it. So we're now combining read and write, OrbitNote, and EquatIO all together. So that normal way of working, that screen reader support, regardless of subject, it's coming across for all of them. So I would love it if you could just read some maths aloud for me, Gustavo, please. Just screen grab that maths, because maths is traditionally so inaccessible. Just screen grab that top line for me.
Okay. So using the screenshot reader. There you go. So. Could you hear anything? No.
We couldn't hear it, but we could see it dual highlighting as it went across. So yeah, we're making that maths accessible. Now, let's take a moment to just look. That's handwritten maths. That's a photograph that's in a PDF, and it's still accurately reading it out. I have robustly tested this, and it will read out pretty much anything that I throw at it. I've had my eldest do some tiny 6s and 7s as a little child in the pencil really faintly, and it's still picking it up. So it is really powerful, and it is grabbing it. And obviously this is the worked example, giving that scaffolded support to the students. But sometimes we're under time pressure as teachers, and it might just be a quick picture that we send in. So we just want to make sure that we've got that accessibility covered across all of it. So if you could screenshot reader it, there we go. So we screenshot now in EquatIO. It's picked up the maths, and it's read it aloud in your ears, no doubt. If you could click the 3 dots for me, Gustavo, just next, that's it. If you click those 3 dots, if you click edit with EquatIO for me.
Edit with EquatIO.
There we go. We can now edit that. So if we have seen the question in the PDF and we want to start to answer it before we get to the bottom, we want to copy that worked example, we want to ask some questions about it, we can just screen grab handwritten maths, photographed maths, videoed maths if we were on YouTube, but we're staying in PDFs, but we can grab any of that and we can edit with equation, we can begin to answer it. So this is our equation editor. If you just hit the clear icon in it for me, please, Gus.
Clear icon, this one here?
That one, yeah, perfect. So if you just type in the word area for me. There we go. So formula sheets are big, back and in fashion now for GCSEs. You start to type in the word area and all your formulae come up. So the students, they don't have to remember it now anyway, but for those that might need that prompt, if they know it's area but they don't know which one, they might not know which one it is until they look at the actual formula. You know, they might think area of a circle is area of a square. That happens in my class quite regularly. But but this is brilliant because it gives them that bit of support. And also if they're a little bit older, like my students are, they don't want to feel silly, they don't want to feel daft, and so to be able to just pop it in and have a look and go, is that the one I'm meant to be using today, or is it not the one I'm meant to be using today? Just pick one of the areas for me, Gus, please.
All right.
Okay. So area of a circle is pi r squared. Obviously, if you're a maths teacher, the pain of superscript and coming back on a squared is like mega. It doesn't do that. You don't need to do anything to toggle between. It is pi day today as well. It is pi day today. If you could just swap out the r for me for a 3, please, Gus.
The r for a 3?
Yeah. So not only have we put the formula in, Dave will have had a pi. Dave, if you had a pi, it's not Friday, but if you had a pi, Dave, we've now got pi times 3 squared. So we've given them the formula, we've given them predictions to help them. We're now allowing them to edit that as well. And then they can begin to solve and substitute in. So thinking of the key skills we're trying to build as maths teachers, it sort of ties it all together nicely because it doesn't just give them the hint or give them the answer. It gives them somewhere where they can swap figures and start to manipulate and begin to solve as well. Right, if you if you just highlight it for me, Gus, and just pick the paint can for me, please, as well.
Highlight
on, Dave.
Sorry, highlight on what?
Pick the paint can for me.
The paint can.
Yeah, so black text on a white background. If that's a problem for your students, don't worry. We can change the colour in EquatIO as well. So when it goes in a different colour and it matches the background on the document. So fully covering that accessibility all across the piece, but actually just one of the simplest things. I showed it to someone this week and they were just like, I didn't know it did that. So it's now built into my demos. Right, okay. If you just close the equation editor for me, Gus, please. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to get you to answer one of these questions now on the PDF. So I have obviously left space on this PDF. But if you could just highlight the first question for me, please, Gus, using the screenshot reader in EquatIO. That's it. And then the 3 dots. And then edit with EquatIO. Perfect. So it's taken the question. We're saving time with them copying the question down. And then if you just pop on a new line for me, Gus, if you could just solve it, that'd be great. I'm joking. If you pop in 3E.
3E.
And then if you start to write the word, equals.
Oh, okay. 3E.
Equals. There you go. That prediction comes in again and just pop 15 in for me. And then new line, E equals 5. There we go. All right. And then this time, if you could hit insert maths for me, please.
Yes.
There it is. And we can just drag it and pop it in place, and that's answered that question. So the students copied the question, edited it in EquatIO. We've got that vertical mask that we strive for, set out, formatted, fully accessible, read aloud. And it, you know, let's be honest, it's going to make teachers' lives a little bit easier to mark like this as well, because we're not having to check, is that a 6 or a 7? What is it we're looking at here? So staying in that PDF, staying in OrbitNote, and we've now got the power of EquatIO in there as well too. Okay, so if you want to pick the next question for me, please, with the EquatIO screenshot reader, Gus, please.
Number 2, okay.
Yeah.
While Gus is doing that, Sammy, just to clarify, I'm right in saying, aren't I, that once you insert that maths, you can then resize that so it fits to the space that you've got available.
Yeah. And also you can go back and edit it as well. If you've made a mistake, you can go back and edit it as well.
Brilliant.
Oh, thanks, Gus. There we go. Very good. Okay, so this time, if you can click the 3 dots for me, and this time copy LaTeX. Now, don't panic. Don't panic. Like, I know nothing about LaTeX too, but all you need to know is that bit. It's all right. It's all right. So if you could open a math space for me, Gus, please.
That's this one here, isn't it?
And that's that one there. So math space is our whiteboard space. You can freehand draw on here. You can put images on here. All sorts of different bits and pieces on here. If you can just click on the LaTeX editor for me, please, Gus. And if you paste the LaTeX in, thanks, Darren. If you just paste the LaTeX in, Gus, please. Perfect. Great. And then insert that maths. Amazing. So again, we can resize that in the math space, but we've taken the question from the PDF, and perhaps it didn't have the space of where we could insert and things like that, but we can start to work on it now. We're in this math space. So you can freehand draw. You can do what you want, Gus. Do you show any feature of EquatIO you want now?
So I can do, freehand drawing tools. Yeah. And then the libraries are class. I love the fact how you can actually use all of these to make math so visual. Like when Sammy arrived to TextHelp, we were all mesmerized with actually the connection that Sammy started making with all the teachers out there. So yeah, I know there are potentially hundreds of these out there, but Sammy, you use them.
There are over 250. There is an exact figure that Mr. McGrath gave me the other day, but I can't remember it. But as well, so Venn diagrams. If you teach maths or science, you know that Venn diagrams are incredibly tricky to get the layering right of the colours. They're just so easy just to drag and drop in. Will you drop some coins in for me? Perfect. Yeah. Thank you. If you teach decimals and you need coins to show how to work the decimals, they're just there, easy to drag and drop in. Once you've selected them as well, you can do what we call infinitely clone them, so that the students have an infinite supply of them, so they can just keep taking them off the pile. So I have a math space for my students just of manipulative and scaffolded supports. Just select one of them, Gus, not all of them. That's it, just like the £2. That's it. And then well, because we're in PDF one, that's why. Okay. That's why.
That's why. All right.
That's why. But what I have in my math space is I just have one of scaffolded support of I just have a scaffolded support one of coins, base 10 blocks, 10 rods, all the things that I know they're going to need. And if we were in the physical classroom, they would definitely go get out the cupboard. And also if we were in the physical classroom that I would run out of if they were in the cupboard. So I draw them all into a math space, and then they just have that one same link on my Google Classroom for every lesson. And it's that continuous discrete support for them that they know right at the top of the classwork is that scaffolded math space with all the manipulatives that they need in, and I just think it's just brilliant. We've not even showing you any of the best bits of EquatIO here, but just bringing that visual maths and putting that in the hands of the students, like a base 10, a tens rod, is just so much easier to drag and drop from here. Infinite maths. Yeah, I do. Okay. So what you can then do is you can then, back to the actual demo instead of me just telling you what happens in my classroom. What you can then do is you can then pop this math space back into the PDF.
Yeah, and I think it's this icon here, isn't that right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
And there we go. So you can see everything that we'd put is there in the PDF now. So perhaps because this is algebra, we were doing like rectangles and triangles and doing a balance method, and we'd drawn some sort of scales and we were manipulating it. We can insert that back into the PDF as well. But don't forget that math space, I've said, is that whiteboarding space as well. So perhaps we were analysing a PDF text and it wasn't actually maths, but we went into math space anyway. And we just did some freehand drawing and some sketches or some annotations that went along with it, and then inserted it back into the PDF as well. So EquatIO is for life, not just for maths, I think might be my new line. I don't know. We'll see how we go with that one.
I like that one.
But it's you know, these PDFs that are really hard, it just, because it is so familiar and it is always the toolbar and it is everything, you know, always looks and feels in a very similar way for students, we can just cross over these tools and take the best out of them as well. So we've shown you those bits. The other bits on EquatIO at the bottom as well, we're not going to demonstrate now, but you have got full graph editor. So if you are a Desmos user, we use Desmos in EquatIO as well. Difference is that our Desmos is fully accessible, so it'll still read it aloud. So if you've got students with a visual impairment, all right.
Oops, no. Forget about it.
If you've got students with a visual impairment, it will still be read aloud for them in Desmos. So we take Desmos and we do everything Desmos does. We just put that little bit of accessibility on top of it as well. Next to that one, you've got handwriting recognition. So you've got, if you've got a touchscreen device or a Wacom tablet or any other tablet that you have to hand, you can start to handwrite your maths and it will drop it in as well. And then next to that one, you've got speech to text, which I just, for maths, I think this is probably the biggest game changer, is that students can talk their maths in. Because sometimes picking up the pen is the hardest battle we're going to win in the classroom. I think for students to have that power to talk their maths, to explore their maths and to say what they want to think about their maths, I think that is just a really powerful feature. I've tested it with my Yorkshire tones. It's absolutely fine. It's bob on. And then the next one after that is mobile, which is the big wow. It's what people come see us for. If you're at that, this is what people will want to come see us demonstrate. Web-based, doesn't require an app, regardless of device, and the student can take handwritten maths and insert it typed into a document, and then that maths is then editable as well. I love it because it forces students to do that explicit checking of work. You know, it's that skill that we always promote and say, you must check your work, and how many times do we actually create opportunities for that? So EquatIO Mobile is massive for that. We had a quick look at math space, and then screenshot reader is what we've been using. And then if you teach science, all your science bits and bobs are at the end, but also you've got a scientific calculator in there as well. And again, just to be able to have that so easily and them not struggling to go to Google and work out which one they need and all those sorts of things. I think everything is built within there. And I think we've rattled through it really quickly. But we've hopefully covered all the bits and pieces to show you the basics of it. But don't forget, you have access to these if you are a Google trainer, Google Innovator. And then this is still a PDF. We are still working on that same PDF, and we've still got all those things, and we can put it back in the classroom and hand it back in as well. So yeah, I'm going to stop talking now.
No, please don't. I was just looking at this thinking, so glad we hired Sammy and she's working with us now. That's brilliant. I love it. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing. The power of EquatIO connected to a PDF, it's another world, isn't it?
Just if a student could visually solve a problem, like by using manipulatives and dragging and dropping them, and then insert it into a PDF, and that was their answer, I think the barriers that would overcome, I think, it's just mega for students. It really is. I think so. Anyway, what do you think, Darren?
I'm in the middle of typing, so thanks for that. Honestly, I love all of the aspects of read and write. I was saying in the chat earlier, Paddy very kindly did a demonstration about 10 days ago for all of our Senkos in our trust. We've got 57 schools, and they were absolutely blown away by just what it can do, and the simplest of things just making such a difference. And I that changing the color in the EquatIO, I hadn't even thought. I've seen the paint pot there, but never really thought to click on it and think what's it for, and actually makes a huge difference. And the fact that, like you said, it's not about maths, it's about being able to articulate your thinking. And I think that's hugely powerful for every subject, let alone maths and science. The STEM side of things is fantastic. But, the coins I use for probability was purely because I went into our maths cupboard and was like, have we got any coins? Because we got to do a lesson on probability. And it was like, no, we haven't got any coins because we don't carry cash anymore. And I was like, yeah, that's a fair point. So straight away, dive into here.
This is it. So we've got, we've used tens rods forever in maths teaching and counting in base 10, ones, tens, hundreds. And there are lots of brilliant websites out there that have them, but they sit outside your domain, or they sit on free software, or they require a login or a teacher login or anything like this. Then Dave will like this line. It's within your domain and within your control of the domain as well. So we want to, try and help as much as we can and just put as many tools as we can there. Is there anything it can't do? Serious question. There's lots of things that I wish it could do, Dave, but we've got a development team.
I'll tell you one of the things that I really like is the fact that you've now got that option to use it anywhere.
Yeah. So,
you can have a website open and you can pop open EquatIO. You can use it with Jamboard. You can use it with anything you like. If you can open it on a web page, you can use EquatIO with it. And I think that's the thing fantastic.
For us. Is we hear a lot about integrations from other people, and other people can integrate with all sorts of different things. Brilliant, amazing. We don't need any of that. We just sit wherever you can access the internet. We just sit there happy, ready to help where we can, making it more accessible. Normally in an EquatIO demo, I show you how to take maths from a YouTube video as well. So don't forget YouTube videos that students might be watching. Snap to grid lines. But you could be watching a YouTube video and a student might be watching that anyway to learn about their maths. They can grab that maths and then pop it in a math space and start to have a go, and then go back to the video, and it builds that confidence and that independence. And let's be honest, that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Have we got any more questions in the chat? I'm sure Dave's got more, but
Dave can ring me in a bit.
Yeah, you've seen it as we've been going through. Loads of really incredibly positive comments in the chat as well. I did put in a link there to the TextHelp page at one point with all of the information about the exam readiness and all that kind of thing as well. So that is
JCQ, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's there.
Thank you. Gus, have you got your slides just to draw it to?
Just to wrap up.
And genuinely serious, if you're at Bet next week, like these hugs, there's so many. Like Mr. Caffrey best run. No, he's met me face to face, so he's all right. He should be okay. Dave.
But Mr. Caffrey's got badges, so he's got to be careful.
He has got badges. I found my pins this morning, ready to come, and I found a TextHelp pin from 2018.
Well, hey. Oh, look at this. Breaking news.
Breaking news. Yeah, no, this is just for you guys to have an idea of what we're heading to. Just next couple of months, this is what we're going to have. We already have the OCR, which is obviously the scan text feature. We're going to have insert images as well, and some more like productivity features like split and merge, digital signatures, and some other ones that are coming are iPad support. That's probably more like maybe summer months. Saving and burning annotations, and well, I'm sure you're not that interested in that last one there, but fully integration with Microsoft Teams as well. Just like the one that we just showcased there with Google Classroom, is going to be there as well, available for Microsoft Teams users that rely not only on OneDrive, but also on SharePoints. So there's a huge roadmap. This is just a little bit of sneak peek of what's coming sooner and later, but you can imagine that this is just the start, and we're really ambitious about putting something that connects all our tools and gives that whole experience to students wherever they're learning and whatever they're learning as well.
I'm just going to take that question, Katie. She's saying, did you mean summer is in UK summer? Yes, Katie, did mean UK
Katie,
summer.
I didn't like that joke, Katie. You know, I take it very seriously. I actually I get depressed very often because of that topic. I'm gonna start crying here. Oh man. Yeah. Well, okay, I'll flip the page. And also, well, you all guys have Read and Write, EquatIO, OrbitNote, Fluency Tutor, WriteQ, all of those things you have now. Just don't forget to fill the forms. But if you want to try this at a domain level in any of the schools that you know or you work for, then just let us know. Let us know. We can do a full domain trial and do a training with the staff. Even if you in your schools are already using Read and Write and want to get to know how to use OrbitNote, also for that, whatever you need, just give us a shout and we will work on that. And that's it, Sammy. I don't know if you have any. I don't know what else you can say. That was brilliant. I have a lot of notes about EquatIO, all the things I didn't know.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us, GEG UK.
Oh, thank you guys. It's been really, really good and brilliantly kind of sandwiched in there into, well, where are we? Just under an hour, which is absolutely superb, spot on time. And thanks to everyone else for joining us as well. It's unusual that we do 2 in a month, but we really wanted to get these last 2 in place before BET. So you got the opportunity to have a look and see what it's like. And if you have got the opportunity to get to BET and say hello to people in person, obviously you get the chance to talk to the people that are actually developing the products and everything else, and really get a chance to play around with it as well. I would 100% recommend it. Like I've said, I think it's one of those tools. Well, it's not one tool now, is it? It's a smorgasbord of tools, and I think every student should have it, regardless. Personally, but I'm not paying, so it's easy for me to say. but that's why we have the lovely people like Sammy and Gus to be able to kind of ease that process for us. So thanks everyone for joining us. Do hope to see some of you next week at BET if you're able to make it. And thanks to Sammy and Gus as well for your time this evening. Take care, everyone.
Thanks a lot, guys.